Are you or your business researching, developing, or improving a product, process, software, technique, formula, or invention? Are you looking at funding for your business so you can focus on innovation and growth? Well, you've come to the right place. The R&D tax credit is one of many innovation incentives available to encourage and support businesses like yours, ensuring you remain competitive and provide great products and services. So, even if you've never heard of the Research and Development Tax Credits, or you're wondering if you qualify for the incentive, you have the information you need to know if this is something you or your business should explore. Let's go. I'm Deji Balogun, Innovation Partner at DB Innovate with years of experience assisting the top leading global Fortune 500 companies to secure innovation incentives. I've also worked with the most innovative startups, small and medium businesses in the US and UK to secure innovation incentives. Today, I'll be walking you through what you need to know about the qualified services under the R&D tax credits. If you missed my earlier videos where I explain the R&D tax credits and talk about the various expenses that qualify, go watch my videos here. So what are qualified services? Qualified services for R&D tax purposes is simply work done related to your research activities. Specifically, any work on the research, development, improvement, direct supervision, or support of the individuals performing the research and development activities. Before we get deep into the qualified services, the R&D tax credit was created specifically to ensure the US remains globally competitive. It achieves this by encouraging you to invest in science, engineering, and technology. Now, this doesn't mean the core of your business is science, engineering, or technology focused. What it's intended to do is to encourage your business to invest in science, engineering, or technology that will bring some new or added value. As Steve Jobs said once,
we humans are tool builders, and that we can fashion tools that amplify these inherent abilities that we have to spectacular magnitude.
So Deji, what are you trying to say here? The R&D tax credit is there to support the work that goes into building that bicycle for your business. So whether you're the next Apple developing AI tools or processes, or Uber who revolutionized ride-hailing, or a retail store like Walmart using blockchain-based technology, or an inventor whose next invention is something like the next Ziploc bag, the R&D tax credit is there to support the research and development process it takes to get there. So I detoured there a bit. As I said before, qualified services for R&D tax purposes is simply work done related to your research activities, specifically any work on the research, development, improvement, direct supervision, or support of the research activities. Don't get thinking you need to be wearing lab coats, holding test tubes, or writing formulas on whiteboards all day. No, there's no one way or process to the research. But generally speaking, research is the phase before development. It typically includes these activities. 1. The identification of a problem or question. 2. A literature review and background research. 3. Formulation of a hypothesis or objective. 4. The design of an experiment or methodology. 5. Collection of data. 6. Analyzing data. 7. Drawing conclusions. 8. Iteration and refinements. And 9. Reporting and dissemination. Let's take a look at each one of them. If you have employees or you outsource work to third parties, if it involves reviewing existing literature or data to understand the current state of the field, if they're defining a clear, specific problem or research question based on observations, gaps in knowledge, or practical needs, then they're performing research, a qualified service which can be expensed as QREs. Let's take a look at literature review and background research. If you have employees or you outsource work to third parties and the project activities involve gathering and analyzing existing knowledge, theories, and findings related to the problem, if the questions are being refined and gaps are identified in the process, then they're also performing research and, like I mentioned before, can be expensed as QREs. Formulating a hypothesis or objective. If your employees or your third parties whom you outsource work to are developing testable hypotheses, an objective, or design goals, then they're performing research, a qualified service which can be expensed as QREs. Similarly, on the creation of a detailed plan for testing the hypothesis or achieving the objective, if you have employees or you outsource work to third parties and they're creating a detailed plan to test the hypothesis, achieve the objectives, or defining success criteria, then they're performing research. Likewise, on collection of data and analyzing of data, if your employees or third parties whom you outsource work to conduct experiments, simulations, or tests to gather data and work on processing or interpreting the collected data to test the hypothesis or evaluate the design, then they're performing research, a qualified service which can be expensed as QREs. Drawing conclusions. If there's reflections on the results, their implications, and any limitations of the study or design by your employees or third parties whom you outsource work to, then they're performing research, iteration, and refinement. If there's been changes, tweaks, improvements, or unexpected challenges being addressed related to the problems and objectives you're looking to reach, then you're performing research, which is a qualified service. Even the documentation of the research process, results, and conclusions is considered a part of the research. That is, before the problems or challenges have been resolved. Remember, the incentive is there to help you with the process of tackling those problems. So when we're looking at development for R&D tax purposes, we're looking for those activities that are intended to transform ideas into a validated outcome. That outcome could be a product, process, software, formula, invention, or technique with a tangible feature related to function, performance, or reliability. Development as a qualified service generally includes activities where you're brainstorming, developing hypotheses, concepts or initial designs, designing, prototyping, material selection, initial simulation, testing, experimentation, trials, analysis, and any forms of validation up until the problems or challenges have been resolved. It's good to note at this point that development does not typically include any post-production such as maintenance, minor bug fixes where the solutions are generally already known, or routine development where the problem has previously been solved. We're looking for those research activities where there's a gain in new knowledge. There's no one way or accepted way for development under the R&D tax credit. So if you're using an agile framework, waterfall model, lean startup methodology, or design thinking approach, that's okay. It's not a problem at all. What matters is you're following a systematic approach, you're gaining some new knowledge by solving problems, and it's related to a tangible outcome such as function, performance, or reliability. So, if your employees or third parties are performing any of the following which I mentioned on your projects, then they're performing qualified services. Direct supervision. Now, during the research and development, you may have folks who supervise, monitor, review, or guide those performing the research activities. They may be directly involved in the R&D work themselves, or they may be involved in the design, planning, training, and review of the process. Examples would be your engineering leads, senior developers, or senior scientists who manage and supervise others doing R&D. Anyone on the team supervising others performing the research, development, or improvement of anything such as a product, process, software, formula, invention, or technique, then they're performing direct supervision, and as such carrying out qualified service. So a quick question, why is it called direct supervision and not just supervision? Well, that's because direct supervision is restricted to first-line supervision only. High-level management who do not work in any technical capacity or directly support the research and development activities are generally excluded. However, if these individuals perform any core technical function related to the research, development, or improvement work, or directly support those performing it, then their time can be included as such. This happens a lot in startups where high-level management wear numerous hats. Support. Similar to the direct supervision, you may have folks within the business who are not necessarily doing any of the core research and development, but the function they provide is critical to the progress of the R&D. For example, if you're developing any drugs or therapies and you have folks if you log and record the data the scientists make use of, they will be supporting and therefore performing qualified services. Or if you have a project manager scheduling and allocating resources dedicated to the R&D, they would also be performing qualified services, though they are not doing the core R&D themselves. Or if you have folks who maintain and calibrate specialized equipment used in performing R&D, they would be supporting and performing a qualified service. The whole idea is without their effort or their work, there can't be any progress. Remember I said earlier on that maintenance or routine development work is generally excluded, and that still remains the case. The exception here is the project scope and what the work relates to. So what do I mean by that? If the work is specifically to maintain or develop what's already been done without any research involvement, scientific or technological challenge, then it's highly likely not a qualified service. However, if it's vital to research aimed at the development or improvement of a component, then it's most likely a qualified service. Items such as HR, payroll, or general overhead are typically excluded from the process. That brings us to the end of the discussion on qualified services. As a summary, qualified services for R&D tax purposes is simply work done related to your research activities, specifically any work on the research, development, improvement, direct supervision, or support of the individuals in your business performing the research and development activities. So, if your business is involved in developing or improving a software, product, process, formula, or invention, then you could be eligible for the R&D tax credits. There are a few additional tests your project will need to meet, but we'll save that for another video. To find out more about the R&D tax credits, you can send any questions with your name, business, and location to questions@dbinnovate.com. Thanks again for watching, and if the video was helpful or you'd like to learn more, please don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel for anything innovation incentives. Thanks, and bye for now.